Greetings and salutations to all you beautiful individuals. It is another epi of League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys to break down the greatest, most iconic team in the world right now. The unofficial world champions. The squad that has the lowest payroll of any team across the international scene. Of course, we're talking about the boys from Dplus Kia, kicking off round 3-4 EWC champs against Hanwha Life. And you know we've timeline jumped or flipped realities in some way, shape, or form, because it is Dplus Kia who are having a 6K goal deficit in a game 3, and they're the ones coming back to steal a win? What?
I don't know if we've ever seen that from within the last 2 or 3 years of Dplus Kia, seeing this type of pushback, this type of performance, and this type of surge at this point of the year is something that I don't think we have seen from this group. So absolutely, get the excitement, break out a couple of extra rations for the boys. We're celebrating winning and taking down Hanwha Life.
And I mean, I'm not going to say they did it in dominant fashion. You know, Kanavi has this 4K individual gold lead almost on the Kiana and just doesn't really actually get to do anything. And this Dplus Kia is so on the same page right now as a 5-man unit. We talked about, T1 looking kind of lost against KT. Koi didn't know what to do. Dplus is the opposite so far, what we've seen over their last few games, and they're patient around the Baron. Siwoo's keeping it leashed, just waiting for your boy Lucid to come in, get the easy smite secure. In these high pressure scenarios, they're in the flow state. Things are slowed down for these boys.
And that's where you know that there is confidence within this roster, that you can take things slow. You do slow down the game. You're able to analyze, able to take that extra breath, where in a lot of situations, if you're not quite prepared, it might be rushed. It might be a hesitant decision, these type of things. And that is something, again, I think we've seen in the past from this Dplus Kia roster, and especially in these head-to-heads against the top-tier teams within the LCK. That wasn't the case this whole series around here, despite the goal deficit within that third game, things like that. But the way that they played around it, the way they got themselves out of that type of position, these are things that we haven't seen from a Dplus Kia in quite a long time. And it's one of those ones where really it does bring that validity to them climbing and surging up to that top tier in the LCK.
And we got to give the extra shout out to the guy who got player of the match, Smash in the bot lane. Absolutely brought it home on the Yunara game. The final 2 team fights really was playing so aggressively, completely zoning Guma out of the last fight on that Lucian. And he has, again, delivered as far and away the best AD carry Dplus Kia has had in the organization's history.
Which is a pretty big deal, and it's a pretty good thing getting this type of result against Gumayushi on the other side in Hanwha Life. Of course, a little bit of history with these guys, former T1 players, and I think maybe Smash is kind of looking at this and going, oh, man, you were the roadblock for me at T1, and then now you're not even at T1. I had to go to Dplus Kia and sling it out here, and now it's looking pretty good, though. For a guy like Smash to be on a roster like this, where he is able to make this name, able to build out his own legacy like this alongside the success of this team.
Yeah, probably feeling pretty good about his decision now and where things are at. They all talk about, I don't think there's any squad in the LCK that is more momentum, mojo, confidence-based than Dplus Kia. So starting this insane gauntlet that is going to be in the Legends group against the other top 4. Dplus are the 5th seed, lowest of this top group coming into this. But the confidence of already coming from that international title to going into beating Hanwha Life, who are the best team in the LCK coming into this. These guys' confidence are going to be sky high, and you even saw CV Max smiling after this series. That's how you know things are crazy.
That's like a once or twice a year type of situation. So that it is really pretty crazy for Dplus Kia right now. I will give credit over, say whatever you want about the EWC, which we certainly have said our fair share and criticisms and things like that. But where it exists as an opportunity for a squad like Dplus Kia, who doesn't get to go to MSI, still gets some international experience, gets to work within that preparation and practice type of facility and environment and mode where you are in that type of moving forward. And it's continued into this next split in the LCK. And that is absolutely what a squad, as you said, like Dplus Kia, that is in that kind of fifth spot, lowest spot of the top group here in the LCK, punching up and getting these upset wins against a squad like Hanwha Life early goes a long way for a squad like Dplus Kia to hang around and do some real damage up here in the Legends group.
And, of course, it is an absolute blitz. It's going to be Gen G right next up on the docket for them because that's how stacked this lineup of 5 squads are. But how about, they played Gen G on Saturday. Gen G is playing back-to-back days this week, and it's T1 on the Friday tomorrow going right into Dplus Kia. So, yeah, the heavy-hitting matchups will not stop throughout this next round of LCK action. But the Gen G T1 matchup, if Gen G smashes T1 2-0, are we starting to sweat a little more as T1?
I think you can maybe sweat and hover over the panic button a little bit more, depending on, I think, the overall performance that you would see within that series. I think you can still, skirt around whatever the result is going to be as long as the performance or certain indications are there for the team. But that absolutely is going to be one where you want to see that pushback, that punch back against the rest of this group from a squad like T1 to, again, just hold ground, tread water at this point with what everyone else is doing in the LCK. Man, this Legends group is going to be crazy. This feels a lot like a situation, being at a restaurant, taking a sip of water, and the waiter is right there to refill your drink. Like, brother, give me a second to let the glass, the water go down a little bit in this level here. I don't need it filled all the way. One match after another, top-tier team after another top-tier team. It doesn't matter who you are. That's the pace it's going to be up here in this Legends group, and you better be prepared for it. Doesn't matter Dplus Kia or World Champions T1. You better be ready for this pace.
And with this upset against Hanwha, the top 4 especially, Hanwha 15-4, everyone else 14-4, 14-5, 14-5, and then Dplus at 12-7. But the top 4 are basically separated by a single series, which, the competition, it's going to be insane. And again, I know the seeding isn't omega important. The top 2 always more highly valued than the others, but just the competitiveness head-to-head, every single, not just series, but game. It's going to matter if you're 2-0ing or going 2-1 throughout this entire regular split.
It's one of these situations where I don't think it's really, again, as you said, really all that valuable or all that necessary about the actual seeding that you are earning from the LCK as one of these world representatives. It's really going to be about making sure that you lock it up so that you're not in danger of losing and missing out and having someone leapfrog you, because that is the environment, the competitive situation at that top tier within the LCK, that, hey, your advantage, your benefit of locking in that first, second, or third seed, whatever, is making sure that you're not in that danger of not getting one of those 4 spots to get out, because the appetite, the competition for that spot is going to be intense through this LCK split.
What we are now dreaming of is having a play-in matchup between KRX and KT Rolster. And why would you care about that matchup? Well, basically less than 24 hours after hearing, or 48 hours, that Aiming was benched by KT, they pull a Diablo 2.0 and ship him out of here straight up, 1-for-1 trade. Aiming goes to KRX and Jiwoo is coming over to KT Rolster. We've seen statements from KT and now from Aiming kind of talking about essentially what we already knew. The other player not being named, but some heated words were exchanged between Aiming and another player. Everybody knows it's BDD. And Aiming's gonzo, just like that.
I don't know why we're pretending like he got into some big argument with Perfect, and that's not the type of value that he carries with that organization. There's only one guy that you absolutely do not step on the toes of, and that would be BDD. So there must have been something going on. Would love to have been a fly on the wall for that type of situation. I think everyone was kind of joking around that he said some bad things about Digimon because BDD is a big Digimon guy over Pokemon. I don't know whatever it is. Whatever it is he said, it's gotten him banished all the way down into the Fry's group here, away from where KT is. This is a pretty significant trade, even though it is, again, not maybe the top tier and all these type of things. Having this happen and whatever message it sends to that individual player and what it says about the KT organization and their structure, I think that is more so the louder statement.
Yeah, and Aiming kind of said, he regretted things he said. They both said things they didn't mean, but he was ready to, have a business relationship and get back to things, get back on the grind. And again, ex-player who shall not be named said, "Nah, bro, I'm good. See you in the play-in matchup if you can get there as KRX." But obviously, we'll see what kind of an effect this has on them. Fenrir started against T1 and they won that series. I assume if they're doing this trade for Shibu, he's going to be the guy starting going forward. Does this make KT better? Has there been drama bubbling behind the scenes this whole time? Or is it something... originally it sounded like BDD wanted Aiming. He was vouching for this guy to join the roster. So now to have come so far to be at this point, something serious had to happen.
Yeah, and I think, again, of course, there is extra... words or heated drama behind it, behind the scenes and what had happened. I think also part of it is maybe the BDD just realizing that, again, forgiving or getting over this type of situation, building another bridge with this player, is it worth it for what he brings to my team iterations? And I think he realized with a guy like Aiming, it's not getting you that difference. Yes, when he's at his very best, he can bring you up to that tier with the rest of the elite of the LCK. But how often is that? And how often is it that he makes that key crucial mistake in some of these team fights that does lead to that advantages or compositions falling apart around BDD, whatever. So I think that it's one of these ones where the performance isn't enough to validate this type of disruption, this type of argument that went through. And of course, that reaction is, again, to separate away from this, which is a little bit unfamiliar to some degree within the League of Legends space. Of course, with it being an actual trade and another player coming through, we're so used to this just simply being drama and this person is leaving the roster and that's it, type of thing. And you'll maybe see him next split, he'll sign somewhere else or whatever. Something's different this year around in the LCK where it seems like, okay, there's a problem or there's drama, we're going to make a move, but we're bringing someone else in return. That is absolutely what's going on here with these trades. And for a squad like KT, who didn't get any practice, any scrims in with Fenrir, but still saw success against T1, I think that Jiwoo does step in as that favorite to be that starting ADC for the rest of the split, but I don't think it's a 100% locked up still.
It's at least incredibly uncommon in the LCK to have these roster move dramas in season, and now, we've had two of them. It's a lot more common to happen in the LPL, and one of the OGs for that little bit of off-the-rift drama is, of course, Gigabin on the top side for BLG. Hasn't played through the first 4 series for BLG. I think we initially, he announced he's stepping away. He thought, yeah, sure, burnout, take a little bit of break. But as rumors have swirled, more and more drama, now we see Flandre gets added to the BLG roster database, and there's behind-the-scenes murmurings that, people from Bin's camp are liking hate posts about other players, and Jean is liking hate posts about Bin. The more this goes on, the more I'm going, are we just not going to see Bin for the rest of the year?
Oh, man, this is messy with what's going on here down with BLG and Bin. This is something that, again, we might have had some sort of indication towards this year. Heck, I think my, early main season prediction was that we might see the implosion, the disruption of this BLG lineup due to whatever issues off the rift. And that is exactly what is happening right now with this BLG team, despite the success of a player like Knight, despite the bottom lane starting to show up and really delivering at the tier. You've got this conversation going on right now, and it's for someone like Bin, where, again, his individual performance isn't at that ultimate extreme ultra level where you can brush this aside. You can excuse it like you can do with so many other superstar situations in traditional sports, esports, whatever, where you can manage whatever's coming on in the outside noise and everything else extra, as long as that production is there. That's not the same story when you're looking at Bin right now for BLG. And this is quite a lot of noise, quite a lot of story going around on the outside, especially when you, as you mentioned, you bring in just ridiculous things. Like, again, having people within Bin's camp or close to him liking these negative posts, and then Jun on the other side. That type of drama is like, again, grade school, high school level messiness getting involved in here. And if you have the success, the performance to excuse it, whatever, that's a volume that can get real low really quick. That's not been how it's gone for Bin and BLG. So that volume, it's getting real loud. We're turning it all the way up to 11 looking at this drama.
Especially this is the second, third, fourth kind of instance of this behind the scenes stuff. You know, the backpack era of Bin, he's packed up and ready to go. And I think the BLG org has had enough of it. And the leverage that he might have, listen, he's in the conversation, best top laner of all time. But right now, the other four members of BLG are pretty damn locked in and like playing at an incredibly high level.
It's one of these ones where, would you like to have a roster with Bin as an option, as a weapon on your team, and what that can provide right now with what he is? Or do you look at some of these other options like BLG seemingly has with a Flandre and go, you know what? We can take these little things, these aspects that we could get with Bin that we're not going to get with Flandre, right? We can understand that and lose that. But we can still expect things from Knight, still expect things from Viper down in the bottom lane to be enough of a difference to be that winning team on the day. And I think you make that equation of taking away the distraction and frustrations and friction that is there clearly with Bin and other players of the roster or management, whatever. And you can take that away and you can still have these benefits of having players like Knight, like Viper and whatever, and that success. That seems to be the path that BLG is very much convinced has to be the way forward now.
Despite all this drama, they're still 4-0, and they're still near the top of the LOL Esports Global Power Rankings. You know, we spent so much time making our own rankings and taking the heat for it. Why not throw the heat somewhere else and see what LOL Esports are putting? You know this is pumped out by an algorithm based on strength of schedule, by the way, but some very egregious ones. Some, listen, Hanwha Life 1, BLG 2, Gen G 3. You're like, yeah, that's fine. That's understandable. And I'll give the preface caveat that I don't think this was updated after the most recent Dplus Hanwha matchup, because Dplus being at 13 behind somebody like FlyQuest is a real head scratcher. I got no defense for that one.
I don't know what exact dish to compare this to with food, but this has to be the one where everybody has their own little nitpick, their own little variation and tweak to the dish that they like, that they to say is the one that it has to be. That's what power rankings really are at the end of the day. But you add in a little bit of extra yuckiness variation, I'll call it, with these LOL Esports ones, given that it is that algorithm based as you laid out. Can lead to things like this, having FlyQuest in this position where they are in comparison to some of the teams around them. I don't think anyone would be looking at that. And never mind a squad like Team Liquid hanging down there in that type of position, given the strength that we have seen from them throughout the MSI and EWC type of run and into the LCS split. Very much so would be looking to change a couple of these, no question about it.
And I only got up to 15 here, but as you go deeper, a squad like World Elite. Remember World Elite? They went on this miracle playoff run, beat BLG, forced Game 5, and now they've started this split 3-1. They're number 21 on this list. And a squad, Flying Oysters, is at 17, and that immediately screams to me, okay, you're carrying over 2025 rankings into this, which you got to do a hard reset when a whole new year starts.
You gotta be better about this, lol esports. You gotta find a way that the metrics that are going in, feeding into this algorithm are gonna give you an up-to-date look at the scene. And that simply just is not the case when you look at these and in any type of real examination. Again, yes, you get it right towards the very tippity top, and that's about as easy as an algorithm could ever look at numbers type of situation getting off of those teams. But once you try to, again, get that nuance, try to understand the power, the flow, the actual human element that comes into performance, that's not where you're seeing it on a list like this. And I think that is, again, one of the real downfalls when you look at an assortment and combination of algorithm-based decision making.
Flying Oysters finished 6th and lost in the first round of playoffs, and they're 1 point behind Team Secret Wales, who went undefeated and won the whole split. Someone's got to read these before they post them. That's all I'm saying.
Nope. No, because it's an algorithm, so it's just the computer reading it and throwing it up there for the website to be updated. It's crazy. I still think the other wild thing about all of this is you can look at a squad like BLG in that top spot, again, as you laid out, 4-0, even with all the drama going on. I don't think I've seen a more successful team have more off-rift type of noise in this type of degree.
Yeah, I mean, if you look on the rift versus off, you're going, well, what's the problem? I know another thing they brought up with Bin was the loss to Dplus at EWC. Apparently, 35-minute game, he did not put a single ping on the map, and they even said, someone was saying he lifted his mic up. So he's not communicating at all with the squad.
Brother, look, there's a lot of things in this situation where, again, I'm hesitant to jump in and, get in on the player type of situation and trash him in this situation. But I think that with Bin right now, again, just frankly, there's a lot of immaturity involved within this situation. And I know that we come across that within esports and League of Legends. But for the success that is available and has been there for this team to see that going on right now, frankly, it's childish. So far right now, been able to handle the speed bumps, but eventually I think this one should be catching up to BLG.
If they keep winning without him, it's going to be a rude wake-up call for Mr. Bin on that top side. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, absolute stunners. Thanks for hanging out as always. We'll catch you on that flippity flip.